I think every single person in this locker room is a competitor at the highest level. So, yeah, when you feel as if your backs are against the wall, you never have to feel like you got to do it by yourself.
Unbelievable throw. Under pressure. Sacked by Quinnen Williams. Right sideline, Usama's got it.
You look to your left and your right, you got guys out there with you that our whole point is to help each other.
This one to Mims. That's Corey Davis climbing the ladder.
To be able to go out and lead these guys, just to know how hard these guys work and how important it is to them, and then you get that chance to lead them. Everything that happened that needed to happen for us, it almost felt like kind of like a sign, like get like a second chance almost.
Gets extra pushes, running left.
Maybe a little extra life to breathe in the locker room.
Touchdown Jets.
Welcome to the cockpit. My name's Ryan and I'll be your pilot tonight. I am oh so excited to talk to you boys and girls out there in Jetland. We're going to go over the Senior Bowl, some of the trending topics as far as Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, the rumors surrounding them. In about 15 minutes time, I'm going to have Dom C joining me. You guys know Dom C if you've been around the channel a little bit. He was with Green Bean down in Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl, so we're going to get his insight on everything. Dude's got a really good eye for talent, so always fun to have him aboard the cockpit. But we're going to do this the same way we do it every week. I'm going to talk to you guys for the first 15 minutes or so, and then Dom C will hop in around 8:30, maybe 9 o'clock. We'll start doing some phone call questions, so Dom and I will both be on the line. You can kind of bounce some questions off both of us, see if there's any questions you guys might want to ask Dom. I think that would be a lot of fun to have. I see you guys in the chat. I see T goes in there, One-Eyed Willie, Sneakers to Boots, 1969 NY Jets, Harlan, Thomas, Joe S, Mitt Flair, Bill D, Radovan, Squirmy Weasel, Ant Jets, Jets Forever Son. Love it, boys and girls. Thank you guys for hopping in. We got a lot to talk about because I have been watching a little bit of the Pro Bowl interviews, a little bit of stuff going on. Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, you're seeing some of the comments. Aaron Rodgers saying, oh, definitely not going to San Francisco. I wonder how much he kind of played into the whole, I'm in Vegas for the Pro Bowl, let's have some fun. Because that's what it kind of felt like. And you had Devontae Adams saying, oh, he found a house in my neighborhood. Or where's he looking for a home? In my neighborhood. Oh, he's going to Oakland, or he's going to Vegas now. I don't know. I'm not so sure. I can 100% believe they are the number one competitor for Aaron Rodgers. I would say Tennessee is probably the other team. I would think us, Tennessee, and Vegas are the three we're going to be looking at. And when I look at everyone, I think of the Titans, you know, they probably run a similar offense to like the Shanahan, LaFleur sort of style with their new OC. And then you got to look at Vegas because it's an entirely different terminology from what Rodgers has dealt with his entire career. Does he want to do that and have the budding personality of Josh McDaniels, who does not seem like a very easy dude to get along with? Maybe. I don't know. The whole thing with Rodgers going to Vegas, they have the money. Like, their cap situation is very similar to our cap situation. If they want to try and get a quarterback and groom them, similar to the way we have Zach, they could still do that. They don't necessarily have to get the guy in the first round. They own the 7th pick, so they do have a better trade package than the Jets can put together because every one of their picks is slightly better than the Jets. And I don't even know if it's going to matter that we have the LaFleur-Saleh connection. I don't know if it matters if Rodgers wants to play in New York more than he wants to play in Vegas. If he's willing to play for either team and Vegas gives up more, he's going to Vegas. So what do the Jets do? I have a poll question in the chat, and it looks like it's pretty dead even through nearly 100 votes. Which would you prefer? All in on Derek Carr right now. All in on Derek Carr. Or wait and go all in on Rodgers. I'm curious to see where the fan base falls on this, because I can completely understand both sides of this coin here. With Derek Carr, there is a very sizable portion of people that are fans of the NFL that feel like Derek Carr is not the guy that's going to be able to win you a Super Bowl. They feel like when you add him to a team in the AFC, is he going to be able to contend with Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, Lamar Jackson, Herbert, all those guys? And I think that's a fair concern given the maybe lack of success that he's had in the AFC so far. If he goes to the NFC South's looking pretty nice. You might be able to coast all the way to the playoffs as a division favorite if you bring in Derek Carr over there. I think that could be very attractive. As far as Aaron Rodgers goes, this is the guy that's going to give you the opportunity to potentially win a Super Bowl over the course of these next 2 years. It also allows you the opportunity to have Zach Wilson sit behind his idol. It also is the best potential outcome for a GM and head coach that are on the hot seat. We have his best buddy in Nathaniel Hackett. I don't know. I hope he wants to come here. I think there's a lot of fun to be had in New York because I think we have a lot of personalities, and I think the NFL is going to push for the Jets to be on Hard Knocks, and I think Rodgers would absolutely lap up the opportunity to be all in on Rodgers. But let's play this whole game of Aaron Rodgers goes to Vegas. Okay. Obviously, I think a lot of us at that point would probably prefer to pivot to Derek Carr. Some maybe want a cheaper option because they don't see him as a viable Super Bowl guy, whatever. I would like to pivot to Derek Carr. I don't know if that's going to be the move we make. And Rich Cimini said something earlier today that there's people that kind of don't necessarily see Derek Carr as a fit. And I want to disagree a lot because I love the fire that this guy brings, and I feel like you should be able to mold an offense around whoever your talent is anyway. I really like Derek Carr. I understand the aspect of going for Rodgers. So let's say Carr goes to the NFC South. Let's say Rodgers goes to Vegas. The only reason I say maybe Derek Carr wants to try and choose the Titans or the Jets is because we play Vegas. Both those teams play Vegas next year. I think he's going to want to crack at that. Kind of go back at your former team. The other side of things, Aaron Rodgers, people saying, Aaron Rodgers, the way his contract works, because of the way his bonus is paid out. Generally what happens when you have to factor in sale or income tax into your state, you are paying tax based on your game checks for where that game is played. So if you play a game in New York, if you're Miami, you're still getting taxed New York tax rates. When you play a game in Miami, you're getting income tax rates for Florida's tax rates. Now, the issue with Aaron Rodgers that I found out today is that his cap hit and his bonus is structured to all hit at once. He's going to get paid in one lump sum, meaning if he gets that lump sum in Las Vegas versus that lump sum in New Jersey, there is an $11 million difference. That is bananas. That is absolutely crazy that you have to have that much difference. You almost have to overpay by $11 million to get Aaron Rodgers because of that difference. Now, the benefit to having, I shouldn't say the benefit, but the idea that you could possibly do is say, hey, Aaron, we're going to structure it, and we're going to put you all your money. You're going to get that bonus, but it's going to happen when we play the Raiders in Vegas, right? See, income's tax in the state that you play, right? I think it makes sense. I got my good buddy Dom C joining us right now. Let me hop over to there. Boys and girls, the one and only Dom C. How you doing, brother?
Hey, Ryan. What's happening, bud?
I'm hanging in there.
Oh, good, man. Good.
Did you just get back today? I know you were down in Mobile with Green Bean.
I got back actually late Friday night, so I didn't stay for the game. I had a family function that I had to attend to, so the plan was the whole time to unfortunately miss the game. So I got back, I'm settled, everything came back, my luggage got back. Unlike the trip down there, which was a little chaotic, canceled flight, took a car from Atlanta to Mobile, did the whole thing. So everything's back. Awesome time though.
I'm glad.
Completely worth the trip, man.
Yeah, I was going to say that the practices are probably more important than the game itself anyway, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's tons of guys that practice that had themselves, hell of a week of practice, and then they just, graciously bow out. DeJuan Jones was one of them. He had a great Tuesday and didn't even practice the rest of the week. Jermaine Johnson did the same thing last year, just killed it so much. The only thing you could do is hurt your stock. So, they graciously bow out. Yeah.
Yeah, and Jones wound up coming in at, what was he, like 6'8", 375, and had the record for the longest wingspan in Senior Bowl history.
I mean, he's just a large man. Just a large man. I don't know if it was 375, but it was close. He was standing next to Isaiah Foskey, the edge from Notre Dame at one point. And I tell you, Isaiah Foskey looked like a midget next to this guy. I mean, it was just like two of him wide, and probably like Foskey's helmet ended where like DeJuan Jones' shoulder pad started. It was crazy. It was just like you're literally looking at a man amongst boys.
That's absolutely wild. It's kind of like how Daniel Falele looked last year.
Exactly.
That same monster of a human. Now, would you be okay taking that player given the issues that we've had with our big boy and Mekhi Becton?
So if we're talking about a player, a general player of that size, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I mean, it probably wouldn't be something that I'm pining for. If we're talking about this player in particular, I mean, there's pros and cons, as you delve down into, the tape of his game film, so on and so forth. So, like I said, I think he's going to be a dominant force. He's got a really high ceiling. However, there's definitely some things that you see. You didn't see it in Mobile. He just dominated everyone. I mean, he literally ragdolled guys left and right. But there's some stuff that you see in regards to his footwork that kind of makes you question if he's going to be one that can really handle the pass rush, play in and play out at the next level. That would be my concern about him. But if you put him somewhere in a power scheme where he can, duo or down block on the guy and blow him off the water and run heavy fits, I would sign up all day for that guy.
What I'll plan to do is every time Dom and I are starting to talk about a prospect, I'll throw up their little player profile right here so that way we can take a look at it, kind of break it down and whatnot. We got Buffalo Jet Fan in the chat. He says, Dom C, what's up, dude?
What's up, Buffalo? How are you, man? He was gracious enough to have me on yesterday, and we did a nice little breakdown of some of the Mobile guys as well.
Nice. Yeah, Buffalo Jet Fan, that character, he's all right. I like that guy over there.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Radovan drops in. Radovan says, do you feel like Carr... Oh, let me switch over to our two-way again. All right. Do you feel like Carr will have way more suitors as a free agent? Also feels like New York is perhaps less desirable for taxes, politics, raising kids. I wouldn't say it's less desirable. I would say it's actually pretty desirable from a raising kids standpoint. As far as taxes, that's always going to be the knock for us. We're just going to have to deal with it. The issue with it's weird. It's almost more of an issue with Rodgers because of the way his contract is paid out, as opposed to Carr, which, in theory, you would pay it out based on where the games are played. I don't know. Do you think there's going to be an issue with Derek Carr?
I'm so so on the fence. I almost don't want to even think about the quarterback issue. I just wish it was resolved. I wish Zach was the guy, for Christ's sakes. We wouldn't have to worry about this. But I don't know if any of those things, that Radovan put up there, are necessarily huge concerns in regards to taxes, politics, raising kids. I mean, New Jersey is historically, one of the best states, one of the best educational systems. You got to remember, he's not in Manhattan, probably not going to live in Manhattan, probably going to live somewhere in the suburbs of New Jersey, Mountain Lakes or Summit or, one of these ritzy ditzy towns where everything's all fine and dandy. So I don't think that has to play with it. I mean, the taxes are always a real thing when you're talking about big money. I don't know. It really depends on, I guess, where these guys want to go, because if Carr gets released, he's going to be open game. And, there's a lot of suitors. New Orleans is gonna be hot and heavy for him. I mean, I don't know if Washington is going to be in the Carr market. Carolina is going to definitely be a player if they don't draft a quarterback. I mean, it's just such a fine line on if you make a move for Carr now or kind of roll the dice and wait for something to pan out with Rodgers, if it pans out with Rodgers.
Yeah, I don't know if you were listening. I actually have the poll question up in the chat. Would you prefer to go after Carr right now, or would you prefer to wait and go after Rodgers? I want to hear your thoughts on this because I know where my head kind of lies.
So I have two trains of thoughts. I think where my heart and my head. My heart wants to wait for Rodgers because I just think it's the better piece, the better fit. Coming into the scheme, I think he's just the better quarterback. And again, that's no disrespect to Derek Carr. I think both of them are good. I think the ceiling of where we could end up as a team, the potential of really being that true, long-term playoff, Super Bowl contender is better with Rodgers. That's my heart. I want Aaron Rodgers. My head says we should probably don't miss out on the boat because you just never know with Aaron Rodgers. And I hate to think that way, because you're kind of settling for something. It's like settling for a bit of honey candy when there's a nice Snickers right down the road that you just can't get to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's true. I don't want to wait for Rodgers because of, almost like the same thing that happened with Denver last year. They kind of got their backs against the wall and they're like, okay, let's throw everything at Russell Wilson. Or you wind up with no options at that point. Because, I mean, what happens if Carr winds up getting signed elsewhere, Jimmy G goes elsewhere, now Rodgers like, I'm going to hang it up. Or I feel like staying in Green Bay. I mean, the other potential option is you could trade for Rodgers and not know what he's doing and just assume that he's getting $110 million over 2 years. And that's the leverage of him not retiring because his career, he's earned $300 million so far before the season. So 18 years, $300 million. He's going to make 110 in 2. Like, he's going to be playing. There's no way someone leaves 25% of their career earnings on the table for 2 years at the most protected position in all professional sports. Yeah,
for sure. I think wholeheartedly, I really think that the odds of him retiring are very slim, but I do think that the odds of him just choosing, going through this hoopla again and ultimately choosing to come back and stay in Green Bay, I think that's, a bigger option than him retiring. Now, the thing is that the money, the salary cap ramifications on Green Bay if they trade him, we talked about, a lot of people have been talking about the, post June 1st designation doesn't really apply towards a trade. So Green Bay is it's a difference. If Green Bay trades him tomorrow and Green Bay trades him on June 2nd, it's a difference in $36 million in dead cap money, so you're going to have to really, and nothing is binding either. So you can make that trade. You can come to an agreement. And then on May 31st, Aaron Rodgers can say, never mind. His agent can say, never mind. He's not interested. And it all goes to naught, and then you're left hanging in the wind. So I think you're going to have to give Green Bay Joe Douglas is going to know at some point well before June 1st if this is feasible, if there's something that's going to happen. I mean, Joe Douglas is going to know that. Aaron Rodgers' agent is going to know that. They're going to know before June 1st happens. So you can make a trade. You can kind of force Green Bay's hand to make the trade now. Give him a Godfather deal. Give him the 2 first rounds. If that's really, really what you want him. And Green Bay takes the hit for 1 year, eats the, whatever it is, 40-something million in dead cap money and starts their, quasi rebuild. It's going to take a Godfather offer to get him traded before June 1st. That's just my gut feeling.
So someone was telling me the other day that you can designate up to 2 players
Correct.
June 1st options. So I guess it doesn't necessarily
you can
only
a cut. It's each team you can designate a player. You can designate 2 players per year as post June 1st releases, but it does not apply to trades.
Doesn't apply to trades. Okay,
does not
so I got some bad information then because I knew like the cuts. It made sense.
Yes.
Interesting. So my thinking is just like yours. We are going to know about Aaron Rodgers beforehand, and Green Bay's going to want a first-round pick in this year's draft. That's why I think we're going to know beforehand. I mean, if he wants to wait till after and we can get our tackle at 13 and we're like, okay, cool, we're giving up our 2024 first-round pick and a conditional 2025. I mean, okay, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
2025, I almost don't want to give that up because although I guess 2025, it would be after the 2024 season, not because of the 2025 campaign.
Correct.
Because you want to hold on to that pick because that's the one that like you're gonna bottom out if you get Rodgers. You're gonna have a $60 million dead cap hit, just bottom out that season, and then you're set for the rest of it.
Yeah. So
but yeah,
the financial ramifications are kind of interesting. So if you want to, no one wants to give rid of their first round pick. No one wants to trade 13 this year. I will if it gets Aaron Rodgers in the door. I will, but just say Aaron Rodgers is not just hypothetical. He's not an issue. We signed Derek Carr. We signed Jimmy G. We signed whoever. We signed Green Bean to play quarterback. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I think there's still a real possibility if that quarterback that we're bringing in, has an ample or a decent sized salary that we're still going to be tight up against the cap. So I wouldn't put it by Joe Douglas. No matter what quarterback we bring in, if we're holding 13 to trade down or even trade out of the first round, you're going to have to cut people to fit these quarterback contracts in, and then you're going to have holes that you have to fill on the back end. So why not do them at a cheaper rate? Fill the holes, maybe trade down, accumulate a couple more picks, in the mid rounds, so on and so forth. Fill some of those holes, and you're not breaking the cap all that well. You're not breaking the seam on the salary cap. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind trading down from number 13. And I think that's kind of where I go with the whole Rodgers trade too, is like if I have to give up 2 firsts to get Aaron Rodgers, I'm totally cool with that because assuming you get Aaron Rodgers like he has played the last like 5 seasons. I mean, even with the broken finger this year, or broken thumb this year with the Jets team, he's probably, you're probably talking playoffs at that point. I would gamble on Rodgers being the guy for the 2 years. And then, I don't know, I think you can gamble on his production. And I feel like I was going somewhere with this, and I lost my train of thought.
You were going to say, like, the second year, I'm guessing, this is me trying to read through your brain.
Yeah, plug it in for me.
Let me get it.
Let's see where I was going with this.
Maybe next year's first-round pick doesn't matter enough because it's towards
that's
the
what
bottom
it is.
of the first round?
Exactly. Yeah, so 2024 is going to be at the back of the first round anyway. And if I'm, like you're saying, possibly thinking about trading down anyway, maybe it's trading down and sending a first-round pick that way, or, it doesn't have to be 13 necessarily. I guess it depends how serious the Raiders are on him. And, what does it get done? Because the Raiders are sitting at 7, and every single one of their picks is just going to be slightly higher than all of our picks.
I don't know. Listen, I mean, this is so crazy, man. I don't know how serious or how much to believe any of the, the jargon that you hear. Is Oakland really interested, or is it just smoke being blown by Rodgers camp? Does he want to come to the Jets? Does he not want to come to the Jets? Does he want to play again with Nathaniel Hackett, or does he hate Woody Johnson and the whole COVID shot thing so much that he won't play for Woody Johnson? It's all crazy, man.
I heard I saw that on Pat McAfee. I was like, Pat, I know you want this dude to be in a Colts uniform. Like that's the bias. He's pushing like the whole Johnson and Johnson thing. I was like, Woody doesn't have anything to do with it. Come on, like stop screwing us. Quit kicking us when we're down. I just want the quarterback.
It's so crazy, man. It's so crazy. And this is like, and I just keep going back to this again, not to kick a dead horse, but like we're not in this problem if we don't miss on the quarterback 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, what's the ultimate option for you if you, like, with hindsight being 2020? I don't think I'm taking a quarterback. I think I'm trading down and like almost just waiting and just seeing what happens. Like it's, as much as that sucks, I'd almost rather run it back with like Mike White at that point and just keep building pieces around him. I don't know. At the time, Zach felt like the right pick.
Yeah, no, he was, and I can't say that I didn't didn't think that, I'd be lying if I did. Everyone was in on him. Sure, there were some people that were a little bit more Justin Fields than Zach Wilson, but I mean, you heard the same, your ear was to the same street mine was. You heard that San Francisco wanted to trade, San Francisco wanted to come up. Philly was looking to come up. This was pre-Jalen Hurts. Like, all these teams were in on Zach Wilson, he just missed, and that's part of the game. But it's such a kick in the junk when it happens. So, you watch all these teams, Cincinnati and Buffalo, all these teams in our conference that just build these beautiful rosters right around this rookie salary, the rookie quarterback salary. Jacksonville's doing the same thing now too.
Yeah, you look at the final teams like in the playoffs. Basically, every quarterback is on a rookie contract with the exception of Mahomes. And Mahomes, I think, is only just starting to hit big money, I think, this year. Yeah. I think this was his
because he signed the contract last year, but it was very cap-friendly for year one. It accelerates at like a higher level as it goes on. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's brutal. Brutal stuff. So you want to win with a guy on a cheaper contract, which is what Rodgers provides you for these next 2 years. That's what's so valuable about this.
Yeah,
$15 million next year, $32 the year after that. Far more manageable than what Derek Carr may wind up eventually being. He may be $35 a year,
if not more, dude. I mean, listen, if there's a bidding war, he's going to get $40 million from someone, And listen, the going rate is going to be 50. Burrow's probably going to set reset the market, at 50, 55, and 40 might seem like a bargain, but that's going to be the going rate. We're going to have to pin some pennies to get a $40 million quarterback contract into our cap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're going to have to make some tough decisions.
Well, so that's the interesting piece of the whole puzzle, right? Like how strongly does Derek Carr feel about not waiving his no trade clause? Like, would the Raiders try to say, hey, you're screwed. You're with us. We're going to take you as our quarterback unless you say you're going to waive your no trade clause to get to the team you now want to go to for your new contract. We're going to hold you hostage. Because I feel like there's enough leverage there and enough teams want him that I think Carr would waive it. But I feel like the Raiders can't risk $40 million like that. That's kind of like, that's a really risky proposition.
I can't see that happening. And put yourself in Derek Carr's shoes, Ryan. Like, if they said, hey, you know what? You waive your trade clause or you're going to be here and you're going to be riding the pine. Okay, so I'm still making how much?
Would he? Why would he ride the pine? Or would he just be the bridge quarterback at that point? It's like, all right, I guess we're running it back with Carr one more year. Like, it sucks, but like, hey, we're going to make it awkward or you can get out of it. Like, the big thing for Carr is he just wants to get past the 15th so he's locked into at least that much money. And he's hoping he's going to get cut at that point. But if he feels like, oh, I don't want to be here anymore, and it is awkward, and I've already been past the 15th, and I know I've got at least that much money, I could see him waiving the no trade clause, maybe not for a whole heck of a lot, but just to get out of Vegas, I feel like. But maybe they don't risk it. Maybe they just pull it.
Yeah, I can't see something like that happen. I mean, it would take a huge set for Oakland to pull that card out. You know what I mean? They would have to have a huge set of balls, man.
I hope Josh McDaniels goes down in flames.
Oh, man.
Just burn in fire. All right, let's get into this. Thomas Cahill says, hey, Dom, doesn't DeJuan carry his weight better than Mekhi Becton? So, guys, if you're just hopping in the chat, DeJuan Jones is the 6'8" right tackle out of Ohio State. He came in to the Senior Bowl, measured out as the largest wingspan ever, like 90 inches, 89 and a half inches, I think is what it wound up being. Just absolutely enormous human being. So, Dom, did you think that Jones held his weight better than Becton does?
I mean, the eye test, they definitely had a little bit different build. Like, DeJuan Jones looked really tall and lean. I mean, he was a big guy, but he didn't look like, like there was times where he probably was, that Mekhi Becton just looked like fat, like heavy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. DeJuan Jones never looked like that. DeJuan Jones looked like he was just like a large guy. He looked taller. He looked a lot leaner than Becton, and that's probably because Cahill. That's probably because he just carries it different. He's not so set, like heavy set around his waist and his legs, so on and so forth. He's just a little bit leaner. It looks like he's probably a little taller too. I don't think Mekhi's 6'8", right? How tall is Mekhi Becton?
Makai is 6'7" is what he falls in. So I mean they're pretty close, within an inch.
Yeah.
Becton, to me, it's going to sound bad. As soon as I saw the draft video of him at home and his dad was sitting next to him and I saw how big his dad was, I was like, oh no. Like, is that the family genes? That could be rough. Like, it seems like Makai's in shape right now. So, like, I think if you roll with Rodgers, I think you have to have Makai as your right tackle. I think that's kind of what you're sort of going in on, with Mitchell being the backup. You have Brown as your backup on the left-hand side. And I feel like you're probably primed to get Bakhtiari from Green Bay.
You're talking
I don't know.
another 20-something million to bring in Bakhtiari.
I think what's going to happen is you're going to see a trade. The Jets are going to give 2 firsts, no conditions tied to it, for Rodgers and for Bakhtiari. Bakhtiari is going to restructure his contract. When traded, it's not like absolutely crazy. I think it's $15 million a year and $20 million a year. But I think they could trade. I think it's only good through 2 years anyway, so it would be this year and maybe next year.
Let's look it up.
But I think he's like a $28 million cap hit for the Packers, so I think they're going to move on from him anyway.
Well, he hasn't stayed healthy.
It's almost like a situation where it's like, hey, the Packers would be like, hey, we're going to cut Bakhtiari anyway, and we can say we got 2 firsts for Rodgers, and the Jets are going to be able to say, hey, the tackles weren't going to make it to pick number 13. The Raiders were going to take one at 7. The Titans were going to take one at 11. The Texans or the Bears were going to take one at 12 if the Bears wind up trading out of 1. And all 3 tackles are gone before then. We don't have the cap space to go chasing all these crazy high-priced tackles anyway. The quarterback we're bringing in, and Rodgers potentially wants his former left tackle. I think that kind of makes sense. The Jets can say, hey, we got the tackle and the quarterback for 2 firsts. We're going all in. That first next year is going to be, a Super Bowl potentially anyway, so it's not going to matter. I think that's the trade that's being worked on behind the scenes. Gut feeling.
Listen, if that's what it is, that's what it is. And you're not going to be able to get the tackle at 13 anyway. Even though I think there's other tackles that you can look at later on. That's a discussion for later in the show. I'm sure we'll have. But if that's the road that brings us Aaron Rodgers, I'll drive out to Wisconsin and bring Bakhtiari here. I'm looking at his contract now. So the 2023 contract is. It's a cap number of $28 million, and then its 2024 number is a cap number of $33 million, which you can get rid of at that point. I mean, you can obviously always restructure it, but you can be free of it completely with an $11 million dead cap hit and save $22 million.
So if he's traded, so the way to look at the contract, that prorated bonus down the middle, are you on over the cap or spot track?
I'm on over the cap.
Okay, so that like 4th column over.
Yeah.
Prorated bonus. That's gonna actually. Let's do this. I have the technology to be able to show this on screen. We can all look at it together. Let's see if I can do this correctly the first time. Bam. All right. Let's see. All right. I'm gonna hide that real quick. All right. So this second column where it says, I just can't see my mouse, but it says prorated bonus.
Sure.
That prorated bonus is the signing bonus that Bakhtiari got when he signed his contract. So that, if traded, does not come over. So that big number for these next few years, $28 million and $33 million, you would subtract that
11.5.
Exactly. So his cap number becomes 9.5 plus 6.7. So that's like, 15 million or so. And then this one would be a touch over 20 million for 2 years back to back of Bakhtiari. So realistically, what you do is you trade for him and you give him, like, let's say a 4-year contract, and it drops both these numbers almost in half, and you add like void years on the back end. So that way it spreads it out a little bit. Kind of cool. Kind of interesting. I think it's definitely doable. I just don't know if I don't think it's necessarily the best option because he's been injured, and I actually really like a lot of the tackles that are on the open market. I just don't know if Rodgers, if I have to risk a semi-injury prone, maybe at this point tackle to get Rodgers, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try and hedge my bets in like a middle round, tackle pick at some point.
Yeah,
I think.
Sure. I mean, listen, there's other guys that are supposed to be Rodgers guys that I could say, hey, if it's going to get him over, like Randall Cobb, however old you are, 70 years old, come on over.
Yeah. Well, who plays Braxton Berrios? You can backup slot? Sure. Come on over. $1 million. Got it.
Come on over.
Done.
Who else? Who else do you want, Aaron? You want Mercedes Lewis? Bring him over.
Why not? Rucker can sit another year. It's okay.
Yeah,
we'll move on from Uzama or Conklin, one of the two after next year. You got it. Just Vodka. Just Vodka comes in and says, can you clarify, can a player be paid based on away games due to less taxes in certain states? Ooh, okay. So here's what I was talking about before. So Aaron Rodgers has a very interesting contract, and it's very unique. It's super complex. It's been really tough for people to break down this entire time. But the idea behind it is his contract has a bonus. And when that bonus is exercised, it has to be exercised before week 1 of the NFL season, his bonus turns into a signing bonus, which then allows you to have that cap hit trigger across multiple years as opposed to it all hitting one season, which makes it easy for you to build a team these next few years. That's what makes his cap hit $15 million this year and $32 next year. The same options each year. Now, the issue with that for the New York Jets in particular, or any high tax state, is because the way that option is written, Rodgers is going to get a lump sum of money all at once, which means he's going to hit the highest tax bracket for New Jersey. If he winds up having a different kind of contract, more of a normal structured contract, where, so his base salary is only going to be like $1 million or $10 million, whatever the base salary is going to be way low, and that number gets divided up amongst 17 games, and that's what he pays the tax based on where those games are played. But because he's paid a lump sum with a big portion of the money, he is going to make $11 million less in New York over these next 2 years than he will by playing in Vegas because of that structure. So there is a way where he could probably restructure his contract here and maybe not have the lump sum hit. But man, it gets a little squirrely, and it's definitely a really big handicap if you're a team in one of these higher income tax states for a major contract like this. It's kind of I think it's part of the reason why we saw Hill go the other way too with Miami.
I mean, he was from Miami, so there's probably a little bit more to it. But I mean, $11 million isn't chump change. It might seem like that to these guys who make hundreds and hundreds of it. But listen, think about it. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is in the twilight of his career, right? We're hoping 2 more years. At max, what do you get? You figure 3. Absolutely. If he's really pushing it and really killing it, 4, but no more than that. I mean, probably 2. This is his last payday. So to cut out $11 million each year out of that, I mean, it's different if he was a 23-year-old kid where he said you're going to make that tenfold in your next 3 contracts. But this is Aaron Rodgers' last hurrah here. So
yeah,
interesting
absolutely. Though. And Just Vodka, what I was talking about earlier, I don't know if it's actually feasible to do this. I was joking about having Aaron Rodgers get his lump sum of payment the week we go play Vegas in Vegas. So that way the lump sum, there's all your pay right there for that week in the no income tax state. I don't think you can do that. That seems like that's probably frowned upon.
Yeah.
I'd say that's not a thing.
I would assume so, because if not, you could split it up between Miami, and you can split it up half in Miami and half in Las Vegas.
I think we played Dallas too. We had a few, right?
Yeah.
Sprinkle all the non-income tax states. It won't even matter. no signing or no cap hits this year. Perfect.
If that was doable, everyone would be doing it, right?
Yeah.
Let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah. No, 100%. Red John jumps in. Red John says Rodgers will make the money back in endorsements in New York. So that's the other side of the argument. The only thing with Rodgers is he's so popular on a national level that, I mean, I guess you're still making more in New York because there's just going to be a lot more opportunities. But I think as far as legacy goes, Rodgers to me feels like an ego guy. And when you're looking at all the potential options for where you could go and win a Super Bowl, where does 2 Super Bowls, if you're Aaron Rodgers, if you get a second Super Bowl, where does that rank you in all-time quarterbacks? I don't know if it necessarily matters if it's anywhere. I mean, if you get it with the Jets, though, they're going to build a bronze statue of you out front of MetLife.
Right.
We're going to be wearing your jersey for the next 50 years. This is where you earn that. I shouldn't say earn, but this is where you put a stamp on your legacy.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. I don't know. Like Aaron Rodgers seems to me like he likes his name in the news and he likes to be, the talk of the town. So if that's in his personality, if that's true about him, then this is the place to be, right? If you're not, and if you're quiet and a little bit reserved and kind of want to be off the grid, then maybe go to Las Vegas or Tennessee where you're building a mansion and this, that, and the other thing. Who knows? I can't wait till it's resolved, dude. I just can't wait till it's
I'm getting
resolved.
heartburn just thinking about this.
One way or
every
another.
day.
I just can't wait
I'm
till it's
refreshing
resolved.
my Twitter feed. I'm pulling up the Jet forums every day. I'm like, just refresh. One son of a batch of cookies went into the forums and said, breaking news, Aaron Rodgers, major news. And it was like he got his name on Pebble Beach's wall or something like that. I was like, I'm going to kneecap you, you son of a... I was so mad. I was like, I just want to know. I just want to know where he goes. Guys, I'm here with Dom C. If you guys don't know who Dom C is, he was down with Green Bean at the Senior Bowl. Dom C has been a part of the channel for a very, very long time. He's really knowledgeable in his film breakdowns and analysis of players, so definitely check him out and pay attention to what he's got to say because he finds some really good gems in there. Now, I want to get your thoughts on the Senior Bowl overall. Talk to me about the players that stood out to you, both in a positive or negative way. If you want to, go one direction first and then hop in the other, whatever you want to do. Let us know the whole experience. The floor is yours.
Yeah, sure. So, first off, the experience as a whole was just it was so cool, so exciting, so inviting. And the more you got to meet and talk to people down there that have been, that either do this for a living, they're actually, with media, in the media, so on and so forth, or they're guys like, are just enthralled with the draft and whatnot, or just football fans, whatnot. Everyone kind of says the same thing, is that the Senior Bowl does it right, so it's really laid back. It's really conducive to the experience, the fan experience, and us, even the people who are credentialed and so on and so forth. It's really geared towards the experience there. So the whole thing itself was awesome, Getting to watch the players is also cool. Having like like myself, I kind of fancy myself a pretty big draft nerd. So for me, it was like super cool because, there's a lot of these guys that I know about. I watched game film on, I watched during the fall season. So I had kind of an understanding, and then really getting to like solidify or completely change my thought watching them play against the best of the best was something that's cool. There was tons of guys there that, you knew the names, you knew the DeJuan Jones, you knew the, Max Duggins and so on and so forth. But it was some of these guys that you heard of, or, if you watch mock drafts or you do mock drafts or you read something like you had, I think, one of those, prognosticator websites up there, draft something or other, you can read about these guys. Yep. And then you can kind of just, get to see and form your own opinion on them. You know what I mean? So having an understanding of these guys and having a real kind of good baseline of their strengths and weaknesses and so on and so forth, it's really cool to see it happen live. Like position wise, like talking about the Jets now, we definitely, I was there a day earlier in Green Bean. So I got Tuesday's practice in, all by myself, and, I was on the field and really like up close and personal with them. So I really studied the linebackers and I really studied the safeties on day one. Not studied, but like stayed with their groups. The linebackers worked a lot with the running backs in one-on-one drills, and the safeties worked a lot with the tight end. So you get to see some guys from the from all of those groups, and then the rest of the time we spent a lot of time with the hog mollies, the offensive linemen, the defensive linemen. I happened to be on the field at one point in the corner of the end zone, right there where the cornerbacks and the wide receivers were doing a one-on-one press man drill where the wide receivers just had to get off man, and just watching these guys and how they move is so cool. So some of the guys that I liked, and I'll gear it towards Jets. We talk about offensive tackle, we talk about defensive tackle, we talk about linebacker, we talk about safety. Those are probably, in whatever order you want to put them, the four positional needs for us. Sure, the DeJuan Jones was, everyone, he was the talk of the town on Tuesday. Probably was no player better than him on Tuesday. Other guys that some of the other guys that I thought Matt Bergeron from Syracuse had a really good week. I always have liked John Michael Schmitz. Since since the fall, he was always a guy that I really wanted to really get a better look at, and he did not disappoint. John Michael Schmitz, the center from Minnesota, was so good in every aspect. He was nasty in his one-on-one drills. He has a good anchor. He doesn't let up those bull rushes. He plays with a little bit of fire on him, but even more so, like watching him work in the 11-11 drills was awesome. There was one run. Who was the running back? Tajay Sharp, the running back from Tulane, where it was just like a little inside zone, and John Michael Schmitz blocks down on the defensive tackle, the 3-tech, bounces off of him, completely destroys the linebacker, completely pancake flat on his back, the linebacker. Tajay Sharp cuts behind him, and John Michael Schmitz, who's a 320-pound, 6'5" behemoth, is running step for step with Tajay Sharp, and he levels the safety. So he literally led the way for this guy. So watching him put that all in play was so good. Osiris Torrance is another guy. I don't really think he's a fit for the Jets, to be honest with you. But he was another guy who really impressed. Big old.
He's the interior lineman from Florida.
He's a Florida guy. He's a brute force in the run game. He looks just as big as DeJuan Jones does. But he's strictly guard only. Trying to think of some other guys that really stood out to me. Jalen Duncan, tackle from Maryland, was another guy that I was high on from his game film, and he had himself a good week. Some of the guys that I came away a little bit less than enthusiastic with, the Michigan center Oluwatimi seemed to me like he struggled a little bit. He struggled a little bit against some power rush, some of the big guys that came at him bull rush. He also had this is weird, but I don't know why I picked up on it. I noticed it. He had a really hard time snapping the ball in shotgun. He bounced 3 shotgun snaps in a row. I don't know if it was Russian or so on and so forth, but I happened to be talking to another guy who I met there who's, actually a paid scout. And, we were chatting. He's like, that doesn't surprise me. Oluwatimi has 9-inch hands. So he's got Kenny Pickett hands on a 6'4", 320-pound body. Kind of weird.
It's so weird. It's like you can't hold a Whopper, right? That old commercial.
Yeah,
where it's like,
exactly.
it's too tiny.
Exactly. So again, I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not, but I watched it, so I couldn't let that go. Blake Freeland, another guy that I was high on, another big guy, 6'8", 320 pounds. I liked what he did against the run, but when I watched him in the one-on-one pass drills, he consistently got beat on a second move. He would set up and step outside and then get beat right across his face, or somebody would counter and spin on him. He struggled mightily against the pass, which makes me think that he's going to be destined to be moved inside. I'm just going through some of my notes here, so let's see. Darnell Wright. I think he was probably from the Tennessee tackle. Again, probably overall. I'm sorry.
Was he disappointing, or was it?
No. He was one of the best. I think he was. He was another guy. He was another guy who was. No, I
had him. He was like the 11th person on my list. I didn't have him. I didn't put him on my top 10, but yeah, I liked.
So I put together, or I'm in the process. It's together, but after the combine and after the Senior Bowl, I should say, and then after the combine, I'm gonna finalize it and actually, get it out into print. But I'm putting together my own draft guide this year. So Darnell Wright was originally my 5th ranked tackle, and after the Senior Bowl, he was that dominant that he's definitely one of the guys that's on the rise for me. I think he has plug and play ability. He's dominant. He's a big guy, 335 pounds. He moves well laterally. He's got good footwork. You can tell he's technically good. He's dominant against the run, but he also held up so good against the pass. I think he's probably a right tackle in the NFL, but he's definitely a guy that could grow to be right or left. Kind of versatile like that. So those are some of the offensive tackles and offensive linemen. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll pull up his little profile thing right here from this is NFL Draft Buzz. I've been using this site a little bit. It's kind of fun. They have his draft projection as a 4th round grade. Is that where you think he would have wound up prior to the Senior Bowl, or is that just seem kind of
he's
off?
a top he's a top 50, top 60 player.
It looks like
I think he's played himself possibly into the end of the 1st round, if not right in the beginning of the 2nd round. Depending on team needs and so on and so forth. He's a guy whose stock went straight up. DeJuan Jones' stock went straight up. I mean, those guys, those two were probably 2nd round, late 3rd, or 2nd round, 3rd round picks when this all started, and there was no other linemen were talked about, as highly or put on the show that those 2 guys did, along with John Michael Schmidt, the 3 of them really.
Based on the how other scouting services rate Darnell Wright, it looks like he's fallen somewhere around the 50th ranked prospect, and then Draft Buzz has him a little bit lower, and then CBS, must not have even heard about this guy. He's way lower down there.
He's a guy. He's only a 2-year starter, so I think that's going to kind of knock him in some people's eyes. But like I said, the proof was in the pudding, and he just stepped up day in, day out, and probably was the best out when DeJuan Jones bowed out after Tuesday's practice. Him and John Michael Schmitz were probably the 2 best linemen on the field.
Thomas drops in, says, "Hey Dom, what are your thoughts on Dorian Williams, and did Campbell and Simpson show up?" Campbell and Simpson, those are the linebackers, right? They did not go.
Campbell and Simpson both did not go, but Dorian Williams happens to be one of my.
He's exciting.
He's one of my draft crushes, man. That guy is.
My brother sent me his highlight tape. I was like, ooh.
Yeah,
I hadn't looked at him yet. I was like, this guy's good.
He's really good. I liked him before this whole process, happened, and he played really, really well in Mobile. The guy's just fast. That's what I think is something like when I'm looking at linebackers, you want to see how they, like how instinctual they are, how they react, how quick they can break, their short area quickness, how they can break. And obviously, a setup like Mobile has, or the Senior Bowl or any of these, Shrine Bowl, doesn't matter. They're going to put all of the players' skills up, in the spotlight, because there's scouts and agents and coaches and whomever are looking at these guys. So they have them on one-on-one drills, against running backs, and they have them, in rushing or blitzing drills against running backs. And Dorian Williams held up best. I think he's probably him or the kid Henley, Diane Henley from Washington State are probably the two of the best cover linebackers in this draft. He's and Williams is really fast. He's got enough muscle. He's big enough at 6'2". I think he's somewhere around 220, 230. So super fast. I think he's a great, like, ideal chasing tackle guy. Will linebacker in our defense. Can cover like a mofo. So that's what I got.
Has him somewhere around the 100 rank. It looks like maybe third, 4th round is what these two kind of look like.
Listen, that's probably. The linebackers,
still early.
Off ball linebackers just don't go off the board early anymore. Unless you're a big middle linebacker or an outside linebacker that's going to blitz, you're probably not. They're not really rated high. Dorian Williams happens to be like I said, one of my favorite players in the entire draft. His game film at Tulane, Tulane it's big time football, but it's not Big Ten, it's not Pac-10, it's not ACC or anything like that. So you get some scrubby teams in there, but he's just dominant. He was just dominant in his game film, and it showed up in Mobile as well. So, yeah.
Radovan drops in. He says, Dom, did you see Dick Chimney at the Senior Bowl?
I did not. I know he was there. I know he was there. I did get to spend some time with Connor Hughes. I saw Zach Rosenblatt there and a bunch of the other, Jets beat writers, but I did not see Dick Chimney. I would have called him Dick Chimney. I'm not a huge like screw the beat kind of guy, but like
Yeah.
Samini just drives me bonkers. I can't stand that guy. You know?
That's such a great nickname too. That was Frankie came up with that one, I think,
Frankie
right?
from Flatbush came up from it. Yeah,
It's so bad.
fabulous. Yeah.
All right. So that was some of that. Let me, you know what? We're going to take some phone calls. So
Cool.
let me throw this up on the screen. So you'll be able to see Dom and I, and I'll put the pinned comment in the chat if you guys want to join us. You'll be able to see Dom and I. You'll get 3 minutes on the clock, but you will not go over that. I will eject you out of here. So if you want to hop in, make sure you call in, and I will assign you guys, and we'll go through. You can ask Dom and I some questions, but we should both be able to hear you if I've done this correctly, which I think I have done. Let me see where my little 3-minute timer pops up.
There it is.
It pops up over there. Let's move this around a little bit.
Yeah.
It's nope, not where I'm trying to go. Come on, over. Nope. Big timer now.
There we go.
Let's go little timer, teeny timer. There we go. Get in the middle. All right, timer's going away. All right, our first guest up, it's gonna be Tigo. What's up, Tigo? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you two gentlemen?
Tigo,
We are
my
hanging
dude,
in
how are you,
there.
man?
I'm doing great, Dom. Dom, I'm going to ask you a very, very, very specific question.
Shoot.
And this is just because I fell in love with these two guys watching them, and I'm trying to come up with excuses to get them on the New York Jets roster. And I see two very possible cut candidates because we can save $5 million if we got rid of them combined. And that's obviously Bryce Hall and Justin Hardy, because they both make about $2.7 million and have a $0 or it's like a couple $1,000 in dead cap. Do you see a situation where Iowa's Riley Moss, the DB out of Iowa, and or my new favorite draft crush, South Carolina's Darius Rush, another cornerback, do you see any situation where in the 4th, the 5th, the 6th round, the New York Jets might take a shot on one of these guys and say, you know what, if they're good enough, because I think personally with Rush, I think he's good enough to take Hall's job straight up, and paying Rush a $900,000 contract or whatever it would be for a 5th or a 6th round pick makes more sense than paying Hall 2.7. Is there a world where maybe they entertain that? And in your eyes, does the two guys that I mentioned fit that bill?
Listen, is there a world where you entertain taking, high caliber players if they're the best on your board? I guess you have to. Now, I will say this about Rush: he was good during the week, but his skill set is press man. I don't see him really veering off of that. Think J.C. Horn. I know that's a weak comparison because they both went to South Carolina, but kind of the same skill set. I think he's a press man corner, with the ability to hop inside. I don't know where, if we're talking about the Jets, I don't know where the true fit on our defense is. I think Rush is going to get taken a lot earlier than we're willing to spend capital on a 5th, or 6th cornerback on our team. Now Moss is a different story. I think Moss has, he was one of the fastest guys at Mobile. They had this new technology there. They called it Zebra technology, where they literally implanted chips in the shoulder pads and the helmets and, everything. Think of next gen stats, how they're tracking all those analytics. This is just another version of that where they're tracking the players' analytics. And Moss was one of the fastest guys on the field at any time. His top speed that he reached was 21 miles an hour, this, that, and the other thing. I, however, watched him get kind of cooked in tight situations, in tight quarters by bigger, stronger, more physical receivers. So I question whether his role is going to be on the outside or if he transitions more into a free safety. And he probably doesn't have the body skills or the tackling skills to handle the free safety early on. Is it a dart you throw and kind of develop him into it? Yeah. So that's what I can tell you about those two guys. I think Rush is a great player. I believe he was, if I'm not mistaken, he was like voted one of the practice players of the week, and he showed up time after time. The receiver crop there was, not the greatest, let's be honest. And the quarterback, the quarterbacks there were even worse. So that might help. The cornerbacks look really good. But he was Rush was, one of the guys that definitely caught my eye. The kid from Miami, Stevenson, was really, really good. Really, really good.
I get the feeling that Bryce Hall's more of a candidate to be traded than anything else. I don't think they'd want to roll the dice on like a guy that's been in the defense for 2 years. I know in a year we're hoping to go on a Super Bowl run. I don't think they're gonna like cut him to save the cap space. If they can get an asset with it, maybe. But I would be a little bummed.
I just don't see I just don't see, to me, like the juice ain't worth the squeeze.
Listen, you're out of here.
Sorry, because that's okay. Because that scared me. I'm not gonna lie. I just don't think the juice is worth the squeeze in cutting Bryce Hall, because he's not really making a lot of money, and he's keen to the system. He understands the system. Yeah, he hasn't been active on a lot of game days. And when he was, we all think, oh God, he lost this Baltimore game. Not really. That was more of a better throw. I'm talking about that long touchdown in the corner in the third quarter. That was more of a better throw from Lamar than it was bad coverage from Hall. Now, nonetheless, what's wrong with having good, cheap, young depth?
Yeah,
I don't think we just cut them. I don't think we just cut good, cheap, young depth just to cut him, to take a shot at another guy who's going to be good, cheap, young depth.
I completely agree with you, Dom. We got Joe calling in. Joe, how you doing tonight?
Hey, Ryan, how you doing?
I'm hanging in there. What's on your mind, brother?
And good evening to the other gentleman. I forgot his name already.
Dom C.
Yeah,
I got a little easy.
3 letters, Dom.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Pleasure, Joe.
Anyway,
my pleasure, man.
I don't know. I tell Ryan I'm almost 50. I've been following, the New York Jets since 1981. I've been watching the game for a while. I don't think I would give up a first-round pick this year for Aaron Rodgers. Maybe next year, a second round this year, a first and third round next year. I really believe that we need to get this offensive line solidified, because without a good one, I know Vera Tucker's coming back, and maybe possibly a healthy Mekhi Becton could help out, but he'd be a right tackle probably. I don't think it's going to help if Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a great line.
Yeah, I think you got to solve the offensive line first and foremost, and we're going to need at least 2 offensive linemen, whether that's bringing back McGovern, bringing in another tackle. Dom, is there any way you want to see us address the offensive line?
Yeah, I mean, again, it really depends on what quarterback we're talking about. If we're bringing in one of these guys, the Rodgers, the Carrs, the Jimmy G's, the Tannehills of the world, they're going to cost money. So we're going to have, again, I talked about it before, it's a numbers game. So to bring in X amount of dollars, you're going to have to also release X amount of dollars. So there's going to be holes to be filled. I just can't see us going after a high-end free agent tackle. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. Orlando Brown. He's a free agent tackle, right?
He'll be a free agent. The kid from Atlanta. You got McGlinchey from the 49ers. There's a few really good ones that are hitting the market.
But I don't know about McGlinchey because he's a little bit older and he's a right tackle. But Orlando Brown and plus is going, he's going to be $22 million plus, right? So you're not going to be able to afford a guy like that. So I think you're going to need a shot of youth and to kind of reestablish this depth. The last thing I want to do is go into the season, banking on a 58-year-old Dwayne Brown, Mekhi Becton, who hasn't played in 2 years, and Max Mitchell hopefully coming back from what could be a serious blood clotting issue. We saw it happen with Vinny Curry, who was out for a whole year.
Well, that's my whole point. That's why I don't think we should give up the 13th pick, because it's not easy getting a great tackle in the 3rd and 4th round. It's almost like sometimes, getting lightning in a bottle with that,
Joe Douglas actually was part of the Philly team. Why am I doing this right now? I'm doing something to my screen. It keeps having me switch back and forth. Joe Douglas actually was on Philadelphia when they drafted their left tackle in the 7th round. He is their current left tackle right now. Something with an M, running a blank on the name right now. Mailata.
Yeah, Jordan Mailata. You're right.
7th round pick, Joe Douglas.
And I'll say this, Joe, as you get booted, hopefully you can still hear us.
I hear you.
Boom! Sorry, Joe. He's got to listen on stream now.
I'm going to tell you this draft class compared to last year's draft class. Okay. So we all know the 3 names that are being talked around as arguably, tackle 1, tackle 2, tackle 3, whichever way you put them in this class, right? You talk about Peter Skronsky, you talk about Broderick Jones from Georgia, and you talk about Paris Johnson from Ohio State. The top 3 don't compare or don't grade out, in my opinion, to the top 3 of last year's class. And that was Ickey, that was Evan Neal, that was Charles Cross. The top of the draft at the tackle was heavier, but I think the middle of this draft and the later of this draft is a lot better. There's a lot more depth in this draft. In this draft, you definitely could get a guy in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round who could pay dividends. Listen, are they gonna be guaranteed plug and play all pros? No, but we don't know that you're going to get that at 13 either. You know what I mean? So I think the depth in this tackle class is a lot better than people are letting on to. And the Shrine Bowl showed it, because their standouts over there were all along the offensive line. And, the Senior Bowl showed it as well. So.
Completely agree, Domsey. Let's see. We got who we got? We got Jet Mike coming in, joining. Oh, Jet Mike, how you doing tonight?
Hey guys. Now I want to talk about the value of Rodgers and his pick, meaning he has the power to choose a team and dictate value. Now, if he slims his teams to only one choice, then the team doesn't have to trade so much. Talk to me. So here's the issue. He doesn't have a no trade clause, so it's not a full control of where he wants to go. I think they will. They're not going to ship him off to like the frozen tundra, and he's just going to be like forgotten about. He's going to go to a good quality team. It's going to be an AFC team that's kind of what we've heard as well. The leverage that Rodgers has is his ability to retire. The issue for me is that I brought it up before. He's made $300 million in his career, and he's set to make $110 million guaranteed over the next 2. So I don't think he's going to retire, which would be his only leverage. Not to mention Brady just retired. I don't think he wants to share a stage with Brady going into Canton. Right. So I think more so than not, you could almost gamble. Like I think you could almost risk if you think you could pull off a trade without Rodgers making a decision, and you could have the conditional pick for like next year, you might be able to make a trade for Rodgers knowing that he's probably not going to retire with all that money on the table. Now, I also wanted to talk about the talent that the Jets have over the Raiders. I mean, it's clearly a better offensive line, clearly defense. Tell me why it makes any sense that Aaron Rodgers would go to the Raiders over the Jets.
2 reasons. Can I take this one?
Go for it. It's all you.
2 reasons, I think. 1, taxes, income tax. 2, Devontae Adams.
So he doesn't want to win.
Listen, I don't know if that's the case, but if you're talking about the 2 biggest factors that the Raiders have over the Jets, by far, I think those are the 2. I don't think they're the most important 2, but those are 2 reasons that you could see swaying Aaron Rodgers to go towards Las Vegas.
Yeah, I completely agree. I would say that's definitely the 2 reasons. The other one I would even throw in there is Rodgers is a West Coast guy. I don't know how much he actually wants to be on the East Coast, and I think that also plays a factor in this.
Let's see how much he wants to win.
Right? That's what it's going to be. I mean, he took $50 million a year when he said he wanted to win, and he made it so they couldn't put any talent around him. So I don't know. Dude wants to get paid. I understand wanting to get paid, but when he wants the Brady treatment at the end of his career, he's got to take a little bit less to build the team around him. I don't know.
Now, he said he would take a pay cut.
Yeah, right. Well, the nice thing is his cap hits are not bad, like Dom was saying earlier.
Yeah, and he did say, I mean, there was times in interviews on McAfee or whatnot where, he did pay the Jets a pound of compliments. I don't know. I don't think that was just, chitter chatter. I think he really meant what he said, that the Jets are doing things right. They're not the same old Jets, this and that. So now it's time to put your money where your mouth is, Aaron. Let's go, bud.
I figured out why my timer was doing that. Chicken going across the screen right now. Boom, you're out of here, Jet Mike. I had my countdown timer triggering the next scene, and I was trying to figure out why that was doing it, and it all made sense now. All right, we got Peter Chestnut joining the stream. Peter, how you doing tonight? Peter, you got yourself muted. Can you hear me? Peter, try giving me another call back in, and I'll pick up for you. All right, let's go to Sonny in Long Island. Sonny, how you doing tonight?
Hey, Ryan. How you doing? Again, a huge fan of the show. Just wanted to state a couple of things here. There's a whole bunch of fans that are afraid about giving up draft capital for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I get it. It's a valuable thing to have a first-round pick. If you don't have a quarterback, who cares if you went out and drafted another great receiver in the first round? Or if you want to draft an offensive lineman with that first-round pick, who's he going to protect? There's no QB. I think we shouldn't make such a big deal about draft capital at this point. We've missed the playoffs for 12 years. We've had miserable quarterback play. We haven't had a guy to throw 10 touchdowns in the last few years. I mean, that's, there's a
4
lot
years
of
ago
fans
was the last time that was done. Sam Darnold.
There's a lot of fans.
So bad.
Right. There's so many fans that are upset about the 6-game losing streak. I'm still amazed that we were able to get to 7 wins with no QB.
It's crazy to think that Garrett Wilson had the season he had with no quarterback in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
With no one throwing them the ball. I think they need to fork over their first round this year. And this is how desperate I am as a fan. I'd be willing to part with 2 first-rounders if it gets me Rodgers here for 2 years. We'll have a chance at really competing and having a big playoff run. There's a chance you'll be competing for the division with a guy like Rodgers on your team. I know there's holes on the team and they're not perfect, but he makes your offensive line better as soon as he steps on the field.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you talk about Rodgers coming in here. I'm with you. If you can give me Rodgers for 2 years, like let's say the trade for Rodgers is a first this year and a conditional first just based on him playing next season. All in on it. 100%.
Absolutely.
Golden for it. Don't care. If good GMs hit on 50% of their first round picks. Douglas is higher than that right now, so you would potentially be giving up, maybe a good player, but the quarterback is just so drastically important that it would change the entire landscape of this entire team.
Let me throw you a curveball for a second, if I can, guys. Just a random question. Do the Dolphins have money to sign Rodgers or first-round picks to give up?
No.
Okay. No, the Dolphins really won't be able to.
That. Yeah, I'm glad
they have neither. That.
Yeah. Right. That would be an attractive situation, but if they're not in position to land them, I'm happy about that.
It's always a good thing. Sonny, thank you so much for the call. You have been ejected from the cockpit.
And one thing Sonny said, one thing Sonny said that I really liked, like I'm all in. If it's 2 unconditional firsts and I'm gonna get 2 years out of Rodgers, sign me up. All right. Without a doubt, wholeheartedly, that's what I feel. Because it shows that it really depends on. It's going to show the chutzpah that Joe Douglas has. Does he really think that we are win now? Because if we're win now, the draft capital, the value of the draft capital just goes lower, right? Draft capital is good. And as fans, we don't want to get rid of it. We want to play Joe Douglas and tell Green Bay, no, you can't have a first, but I'll give you a conditional fourth and a seventh. Like we're dealing for James Robinson or something over here. We're dealing for the position that has haunted us for the past umpteen years. You go and you get it right. And if you're a win now team, the draft picks, that capital doesn't hold the same value as if you're the Houston Texans or Chicago or somebody where you're rebuilding and that capital means your future. We're not thinking 5 years down the road now when these first round picks are going to be coming up for a second contract. We're thinking about win right now.
I completely agree. The draft capital is totally different than what it's been the last few years. Jet Engine drops in. He gifted a membership to the channel. Thank you, Jet Engine. And it was Hennessy Heisman that picked up the gifted membership. So thank you. Of course, drop some JETS in the chat if you're a member of the channel. Boys and girls, we've got DC joining the channel, and then we're going to jump over to Thomas Cahill's super chat. Then we got Peter. I got Peter, then I got DC, V-Man, and then Fabian coming up. So, Peter, you're up next. Peter, welcome to the channel.
Hey, how's it going, Ryan? How's it going, Dom?
What's up, Peter?
I noticed when I called back in, you guys were louder, so I was like, okay, that makes sense.
It's probably like something like a speakerphone or like Bluetooth device or something.
I took it off Bluetooth when I parked my truck. Again, I'm on the emergency side of the highway, so I don't get hit. But
be safe out there.
I definitely wanted to talk because Dom is here. Dom seems like he is more about like players and skill and stuff that goes into it and not stats at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing a lot of people keep saying to cut Carl Lawson. He's not a $15 million player. With the injury that he had a phenomenal year considering that injury. If you look at the history in the NFL of people coming off the Achilles, it's the year after that they are back to normal. And I think that he should be like Mosey, where you extend him like a year or two to put some of his money back and you keep him because he's also a leader on the field. He's been helping the young guys on the defensive line. And if you look at the highlight reel that the Jets put out themselves of Quinnen Williams, look at that and like search who's next to him in most of those plays, and it's Carl Lawson. He might not be getting a sack, but he's disruptive. And I'm thinking that this year coming up, a year removed from his Achilles injury, he's going to be a lot better. So, Dom, what do you think?
I agree with the sentiment that you said that the Achilles injury is for sure. It's usually year 2 and forward where you really see the person, get back, or the player get back to their peak playing level. So there's definite truth behind that. I'm a definite Carl Lawson fan. I would love to have him on the team. Realistically, though, again, I sound like a broken record. This 2023 bringing in a quarterback is going to come down to a money game. So with the depth that we've had built at defensive line and the flexibility that we have along the defensive line, on top of that, with the edge class in this year's draft being extremely deep, I haven't figured out a way how to justify Carl Lawson at his current contract.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You go to him and you go to Mosley and you say, hey, we'll give you 2 more years of fake money just so we can stretch it out so that we have your leadership here and we have you still on the team. Both of those guys, I think.
I think CJ, they restructure. I do think CJ winds up coming back. Like, if we get Rodgers for 2 years, I think Mosley definitely stays for the 2 restructures, and we wind up getting our linebackers back. Lawson, to me, I think, like Dom said, is just purely a money game for me. I like the person that Lawson is. I like the player that Lawson is. I think he can provide some really great veteran presence for us as well. But I think it's just, you saw what we got with JJ, you saw what we got with Clemens, you saw what we got with John Franklin Myers, and you saw what we got with Huff. And with those 4, I just think they've earned a bunch of playing time.
Look at the highlights.
Someone's going to get a really good, edge rusher in Carl Lawson. Like, if there's a way where you could somehow retain him and just have a plethora. I mean, we're looking at Philly right now, just a rotation of just lethal pass rushers. It'd be cool. I don't know if you could do it and get the quarterback. That would be my concern, I think.
They have an array of lethal pass rushers who all are not just on rookie contracts because their quarterback is on a rookie contract. Again,
so is ours.
So is ours right now. He's not
Well,
wrong.
yeah, for 22 it was.
They got
not
two.
for
Gardner
23.
Minshew's on a rookie contract too.
Yeah.
Peter Chestnut, great question. You have been ejected. Get home safe, brother. All right, let me jump over to some super chats real quick. Jet Engine, I see you in the chat, so I'm glad you got that. So I'm not going to throw that one up on the screen. Thomas Cahill, Dom, T Spears, and should we take a running back in the later rounds? I don't want to take a running back at all. Breece Hall, Bam Knight, Michael Carter, those are my three. And if I need someone else, undrafted free agency.
Yeah. So I'll answer the first part of the question. Tajay Spears was awesome during the week of during the week of the combine. He was the running back that stood out head and shoulders above everyone during the week of practice. And then there was some other guys. Chase Brown and Eric Gray and the kid from Northwestern really stuck out in the game more so than Tajay Spears. But Spears is I see him as really like your ideal prototypical third down running back in the NFL. He's got some, he's got some receiving chops on him. He's got enough hustle where he can get up in line. He's not the biggest. He's not the biggest. He's not the strongest. I don't think he's going to do a lot of damage in the NFL in between the tackles, but you said, he can fit an outside zone where he can just plant and cut and get north and south real good. He's super scat back, like, real shifty. I'm sure everyone has seen the highlight of him running pass. Maybe you didn't see it, Ryan, or maybe it did, when he's running pass patterns against Servassier Dennis. And he just ducks.
I don't know if I saw that one.
Oh,
that's dope.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So that's the kind of guy he is. He's going to make an NFL team. He's draftable. I don't think that the Jets really kind of ventured down the road of running backs. Now, I like the guys that Ryan talked about. I'd also bring back James Robinson again. Coming back now, it will be in year 2 post Achilles injury. So I think,
and it's a restricted free agent tender too, so it's a lot cheaper to bring him back.
Yeah, so I would bring James Robinson back into the fold, and probably, if I had to, say goodbye to Ty Johnson, just not re-sign him, and then you have a stable of 4 guys. You're gonna need a stable of 4 guys because Breece Hall is probably going to be PUP listed for the first 6 games. That's my guess. So then you have those 3, and you run it back right now with Michael Carter and James Robinson and Bam Knight until Breece is healthy.
Hell yeah. I love it. All right. We got DC joining us. DC, welcome to the cockpit.
How you guys doing tonight?
Good, man.
Hanging in there. What's on your mind, brother?
I got a draft question for both of you.
All right, shoot.
We get Rodgers. Don't lose 13. The 2 top linebackers in this year's draft, one of the 2, either Sewell or Simpson, are sitting there at 13. Do you snatch one of the top 2 linebackers off the board?
Did we solve tackle?
Second
or
round.
Are all 3 tackles gone?
All 3 of the top 3 are gone.
Okay, top 3 are gone. We got linebackers on the board. At that point, there's a few options that I think I'm looking at. Linebacker, I think you could consider if you fall in love with one of them. If you like the top safety, you could look that. I might lean, if we didn't go receiver, I might lean a big-bodied receiver early in this draft. Give me 5 years of control because Elijah Moore is only going to be on this team for 2 more seasons. And Denzel Mims probably is not on this team after this year, if I had to guess. So I might lean receiver before linebacker because I think you can get some good linebackers in the middle rounds. Dom, where do you fall on this?
Well, I don't take linebacker at 13. That's just not for me. It's not an option. I don't think I don't have a first round grade on any off ball linebacker in this class. Simpson is the name that gets the most buzz. I don't have a first round grade on him. I think this year's tape where he moved out from that big nickel or that rover position that he played in 21 to a true off-ball linebacker like a Sam or Will, depending on the setup. He played both. His play and his stats and his play just went dip. Now, the guy's an athletic freak, and people always will bet on the athletic upside. But I can only go by what I saw, and he's not a guy that I have a first-round grade on. My favorite linebacker in the class is Drew Sanders, kid from Arkansas. Is a big body.
He's one of my favorites too.
Yeah, started his career in Alabama, and was kind of like a part-time situational pass rusher, outside linebacker for them. Moved back to Arkansas, moved back into a true Sam linebacker role, and really excelled. He's my favorite linebacker, and I just don't think that 13 is a place to go linebacker. I think the talent, there's so much talent at other positions that I would take before linebacker at 13. Now, if you trade back
10 more seconds.
If you trade back and you want to take them in the 20s, then maybe.
I love it. DC, thank you so much for the call, brother. You've been ejected from the cockpit. All right, we've got V-Man joining the channel. V-Man, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Not too bad. I just want to let the chat know we got Jet Engine and then Fabian coming up next. We got two guys on deck. All right, V-Man, fire away. What's on your mind?
Well, the thing is, I've seen a lot of people worried about the Aaron Rodgers, the Raiders buzz that was happening over this weekend. I mean,
oh yeah, the panic of he's buying a house in my neighborhood.
Yeah. To me, I don't see it because unlike the Raiders, I think the Jets offer Rodgers the path of least resistance. If you know what I mean.
Well, I think the nice thing about Rodgers coming here is he knows Nathaniel Hackett. He can be the de facto offensive coordinator, Rodgers meaning, where if you bring Rodgers to Vegas, McDaniels and him, I feel like are going to be bumping heads nonstop.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, V-Man, we got you. Oh, we don't got you. V-Man just got booted. All right, we're going to go to Jet Engine. Jet Engine, welcome to the cockpit.
Hey, what's up, Ryan? How you guys doing?
Good,
hanging
Jet.
in there.
Yeah, hanging in there, man. Just changed jobs, moved, and just chilled out. Watched the rocket take off here from Cape Canaveral. Amazing.
I was going to say, I see that cage you got behind you. You got one of those. You're in Florida, my friend, with the pool.
Yes, I am. So anyway, here's the thing. Very short and sweet, as usual for me. Number one, guys. I don't know who's talking about it. Sign Quinnen Williams. Shut up. Sign the guy. If it costs you money to have talent. Number one, it is not your money. Number two, number three, every agent in the league is going to look at how the Jets are treating their superstar players. Get your stuff together. Sign the man. Come on. Anyway, the other thing is, as far as quarterback goes, Carr, fantastic. Rodgers, fantastic. Some of the other guys, not so fantastic, but you know what? Really freaking good. We've had garbage for so long. We just need to have people who play professional football to go with our defense. Anything else is nonsense. Yeah. Draft-wise, regardless of who you're going to pick up as quarterback, fix the line. The line is not fixed. AVT's coming back, great. Center, he's mediocre. He's good. You know, he is who he is. We have other problems. Fix that. We have plenty of weapons. We want to pick another weapon up later. That's fine. Don't do it at 13. Anyway, we have a lot of options. We're not so stupid, I hope. And the biggest thing is, don't be stupid with the quarterback stuff. Get either guy. Anybody who tells you that Carr cannot bring you to a Super Bowl is a freaking idiot. Because neither could Vinny Testaverde, neither could Brad Johnson, neither could
Matt Ryan.
Good Lord, what's the guy's
Nick
name
Foles.
Nick
Foles and Matt Ryan get to a Super Bowl. Friggin' Derek Carr could get to a
team. Don't screw up, and they're going to be fantastic, right? So that's all I got to say. You don't have to catapult me. I'll see you later, Ryan. Be well.
Take it easy, brother. You're still getting the chicken either way. You get the treatment. All right, so I want to talk about real quick. He mentioned the Quinnen contract and just pay the guy. I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and I know I'm going to get a bunch of people fired up at me for this because everyone just wants to pay your good guys, and I understand that thought process. Now, if you're Joe Douglas and you're sitting here, and this year you need to figure out, okay, we just need to we need to win. I need to use all my cap space. And it's not necessarily that your cap is hitting this year with Quinnen, but it might hit next year's cap. And it might hit the year after that's cap. And that's money that you could push off for other players to try and make you have a Super Bowl push this year. So that would be the argument maybe for not doing Quinnen right now. The other part of this is if Douglas thinks he's going to be here a long time. Well, I guess the flip side of that coin is he might say, I'm not going to be here to worry about the cap in the next few years. I might as well sign Quinnen anyway and just say forget it. So like that's certainly a possibility as well. The other side of this is we have a lot of really, really good young talent, especially talent that's in the first round. And every single one of those guys, when their contract gets up, year 4, guess what? I want to get paid. I want to have that right now. You are setting a precedent that you will work on contracts a year earlier. Now, I want to make sure we focus this on we will give you a contract when you have earned it. Quinnen Williams has himself a great season last year. We now give him the contract, and then we just adjust the cap hits to be a little bit later and whatnot. But do you think that could be an issue, as far as maybe Douglas's potential panic to have to get a quarterback and use the cap space a little differently?
Well, I think I really like the point that you made in regard to not setting a precedent. I'm not going to say I necessarily agree with it, but it's a point that's valid and makes sense, right? You're going to have 3 guys that are going to be, 2 years. 2 years from now, you might have to consider, getting them ready. Or AVT is what, next year? No, AVT 2 years from
will
now.
be after next year is his 3rd year. So his
exactly.
4th year.
So,
the nice thing is all their big money, if we get Rodgers, all their big money hits after 2025 when Rodgers' cap hit hits. You're probably, with Rodgers, only losing Becton and Moore.
Yeah. So, if Rodgers comes in or quarterback of your choice, I'm not going to keep saying Rodgers, whatever quarterback you bring in comes in this year, and just say you allot $35 million to him. I'm using a 35 million, whatever. Quinnen's what, 9.5, 10 million this year on the 5th year. I think restructuring him and saying, all right, Quinnen, listen, we're going to give you, we'll give you the $23 million a year. You want 4 years, but I need you to backload this. I need the space this year, so we're going to count you $1 million this year. That's going to take $8 million more that we can throw at Rodgers, or we can throw at, Rodgers' cronies that he brings in from Green Bay, whomever, you know what I mean? So I think in that sense, I think securing the deal with Quinnen will happen or make sense for that reason alone, because it can help you adjust and free up now. By the time the real money kicks in, and you got to start paying AVT, and you got to start paying Sauce, and you got to start paying all these other guys. Like I said, the Rodgers thing is going to be long gone, or the quarterback will be long gone probably.
Yeah, and the interesting issue, I think, with Quinnen and the leverage that Douglas has is, hey, look, Quinnen, you got to know $9.5 million this year. If I tag you next year, it's roughly 18 or 19 million. If I tag you the year after that, it's 120% of the last tag, which gives you 23 million for that year. For an average of $17 million over these next 3 years. It'll be 17, 17, 17 over the course of the next 3 years. So I don't have to give you more than that. I'll give you 4 years, $22 million a year. You'll be the second highest paid defensive tackle. I do right by you. You do right by me by not coming after me for like $25, $28 million. Like if he's looking for Aaron Donald money, dude's getting tagged. No way is I don't think Douglas goes above 22 based on the leverage he has right now.
Yeah, and Douglas doesn't seem one to veer far off of what he deems fair market value. I haven't seen, outside of the Gerard Davis 1 year contract, I haven't seen Douglas overpay anybody or over contract, like give him a long term deal. Like he's kind of tight with that part.
We've got Fabian joining us. Fabian, welcome to the cockpit. Then Jersey and V-Man, I'll get to your super chats in just a second. But Fabian, welcome to the cockpit.
Hey guys, what's up? What's up, Dom? What's up, Ryan? How's it going?
Fabian? How are you, man?
Hanging in there. Good. What's on your mind?
To piggyback off of that, also, you signed Quinnen Williams now. The way the NFL is blowing up, that salary cap just seems like it's going to creep up every year. The NFL is a monster. So in 2 years, it might not be as a big percentage of your salary cap than it would be this year. So we have that
perfectly
to look forward
said.
to.
I think the new TV contract hits next year. I think that's when that salary cap hits, and it could be enormous.
it could be enormous. So who knows? Maybe we'll get a good deal. It might not look at it if he signs it, but I have a question. It's weird. I understand what scares me about the Aaron Rodgers, not about getting him. I want him bad. The chances they're not talking, and I understand they leaked out information say they want him to the AFC, but to me, if Aaron Rodgers is only playing 2 years and a team like Carolina says, listen, we're going to give you a better deal, I don't think the Packers aren't going to do anything next year anyway because they're going to have to take the hit and Julian Love. I'm afraid that NFC team might actually scoop up. If he was younger, I would say, yeah, they're not training him in the NFC. But as long as they're not training him in the division, I'm like, the Packers know they're not going. If they could get a better deal, if it's the same deal, obviously they would rather get him out of conference. So I don't know what you guys think about that.
Well, that's the interesting thing, right? And like what NFC team would offer a better contract than us? I mean, or not contract, offer, but offer a better package, better offer. You're talking Carolina, Atlanta,
Tampa.
I think New Orleans. Tampa's behind us, I think, because they won their division.
So is New Orleans. New Orleans
is New Orleans behind us?
New Orleans, yeah, Philly has.
Yeah.
Oh, they traded. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking. So realistically, New Orleans is not in play.
Well, if you're talking about first round capital for this year, you're right. But what if it's players?
But just generally speaking,
there could be other things.
Yeah,
players.
Yeah. I mean, if there's players that they want and they're going to send like a Kamara or something along, my friend was making this argument too. Like, why would the Packers cut themselves off and not take an NFC trade when there's only 2 years of Rodgers anyway? And I tend to agree with that line of thinking. My only thing is LaFleur may not have more than 2 years, and if he looks bad against an Aaron Rodgers and loses in the playoffs because he gave up on him, like, maybe that's the, get out of here.
That's true.
I don't know.
Listen, I think Carolina. You mentioned Carolina, and I never thought about it, but like, what a perfect ideal situation that would be for Aaron Rodgers to walk into.
I'm thinking Carr goes there.
NFC South is awful. They need a quarterback. They got an offensive-minded coach in Frank Reich. They got a kick-ass defense.
So, go ahead, give me the chicken.
You get the chicken. Boom, David, you're out of here. Oh, I love that chicken. All right, I got Carson and then Chris next, but let me just throw up some super chats that we had in here. Jersey Abrahams says, my choice is Carr because Rodgers is a lying sack of Federal, and I wouldn't waste time with him. Brissett is next. Would you draft Hooker or DeWand at 13? No, I'm not going to take DeWand at 13 because big tackles scare me at the 13th pick or the 11th pick or whatever. At this point, I'm traumatized from the Mekhi Becton pick. No, I just don't think he's that high. And Herndon Hooker, I think, is who he's talking about. Hendon Hooker. Yeah, I'm not touching him with a 10-foot pole. He's 24 years old, Dom? Is that right?
Hendon Hooker's 24 years old right now. He'll be 25 come April. Hendon Hooker's also coming off of an ACL tear, which he's not going to play this year. So at that point, you're banking on a 26-year-old quarterback who
coming off a knee injury,
coming off of a knee injury, who is known for his mobility, and played in an offense at Tennessee that doesn't translate very well to a true NFL scheme. So I'm not doubting the kid's talented, but there's too many red flags for me. And forget about it, 13. There's too many red flags for me to take before day 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think I'd take Hooker. Honestly, it might be at all. I really like the top 5 quarterbacks. I would say as low as McKee. I like Tanner McKee. I like Richardson, not for the Jets, but for some other teams. Like, I think if you're going to have a guy that can start in place for those two guys, I think they would be really interesting. But I don't think the Jets should be looking at either of those players at number 13. V-Man drops in. V-Man says, can I call back, drive through a dead zone? Yeah, you can call back as long as it's before 10 o'clock and I'm not done. Richard Delgado celebrates 25 months of membership. What's up, Richard? He says, Broncos country, let's ride. Oh, wait. Yeah, I don't want that kind of situation, right? Like, I don't want Aaron Rodgers coming here and saying, let's discount double check, I tell you what. And then, all of a sudden, shit goes sideways and now we're bottoming out, and don't want that.
Oh, man.
Whatever. All right, who we got? We got Carson in the chat. Carson, welcome back to the cockpit. How you doing tonight? Oop, shit.
Good afternoon,
Chickens
Ryan.
all over
Good
the place.
afternoon, Dom.
Hey, Carson, what's up, dude? I think Ryan
What's
just
going
booted
on?
you already.
I know, I'm shooting the chicken out all over the place. That was a premature ejaculation.
So, good afternoon, gentlemen. So, really quickly, we've seen from the Joe Douglas tenure that he is not the one, like Dom said, to overpay for players. He kind of bargain bin hunts instead. He's very good at that. Why are we settling on Derek Carr? He's not a good quarterback. he's a mediocre at best quarterback with a good offensive line.
Let's say you don't know about Rodgers. If you don't know about Rodgers, are you gonna try and trade for him without knowing that he's gonna come back? I think you could. I think there's an argument for that. And then if it's not Rodgers, what do you do?
Well, I keep my ears perked for Lamar Jackson because they're $100 million apart. They're not even close.
Yeah.
So
that's what I've heard. That was from that Dov Kleiman friggin' Twitter. I don't know if Dov Kleiman's even like a legitimate source. I think he's a former Patriot.
I heard 80 to $100 million apart for Lamar Jackson. And if that is the case,
that's probably 2 years. I bet it's like a year's thing. It's probably like, hey, we'll give you three. We'll give you like the next 3 franchise tags fully guaranteed. That's probably the deal they're working on.
If Lamar is a UFA, I think the Jets should go all out. Number one, if he gets there, they should go all out with the youth and everything like that. Him in New York, the draw, it would be electric. I would take Rodgers second, just because he's Aaron freaking Rodgers, and I would take Derek Carr third. And it's a close with Jacoby Brissett. I don't think Brissett's as bad as a quarterback as people presume he is.
No, I don't think he is either. I like Brissett, but if we have to use him as our quarterback for 2023, something went really, really wrong.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
And I would say I'm probably on a similar wavelength. If I felt I could get Lamar from, I would probably put Rodgers first still, because it allows you to kind of see what you have in your already acquired assets in Zach Wilson. But I would put Lamar as 2 over Carr, I think, at this point. I don't think the injuries are as big of a problem as a lot of people make out. I don't know how you make his contract work. That's the biggest. Like, it's going to have to be like a 10-year contract so you can stretch out some of those cap hits. It's going to be absolutely enormous.
Now, I have a question for Dom. For Dom. Really quickly, it's kind of a two-parter. Do you think John Franklin Myers is overpaid for his contract? Because I do. And number 2 is I called Ryan last week on the show, and we discussed kind of last year we discussed Kyle Hamilton. I was big on Kyle Hamilton. We had heated discussions about him. Free safety is a big need for this team. It is. It is. Is Brian Branch a target at 13 if he gets there?
Good question. I'll answer the first part first. But you got to have to listen afterwards, because I think Ryan's going to boot you.
Sure.
I don't.
I'll hold on to it. Yeah, you got a little bit of time. We got Chris and V-Man after you, but I'll let Dom finish his thought.
So I don't think John Franklin Myers is overpaid per se. I think realistically, this is probably the last year that we're going to see John Franklin Myers, because I believe it's next year you can get out of his contract almost scot-free, probably pick up, $13, $14, $15 million with
13 and a half. Yeah.
See? Almost spot on. And with a very low or no, a very limited dead cap hit.
Right.
800,000.
Yeah. So this year, what's he getting? 12, Ryan?
It's 11, I think.
So he's getting 12.4 is what his cap hit is. He's actually getting 11.4 this year. But I think what you'd probably realistically want to do is, if you wind up getting Aaron Rodgers, I would restructure John Franklin Myers and keep him on the team the next 2 years and drop his cap hit a little bit lower, extending his guaranteed money out if he'd take it. I think if you get Rodgers, that allows you to do that with Mosley and JFM.
Yeah. I don't think he's overpaid. But I don't think he's long for the Jets either.
Watch this. Check this out. So I have the Over the Cap has a really cool tool that I never really see anyone use, but I like using it. So let me see if I could pull it up real fast.
While you do,
bam.
Oh, you got that.
Over the cap valuation. So his average annual salary per year is $13.7 million based on his contract. His over the cap valuation based on his performance this year, he should have been paid 9.3. So technically over the cap is saying he is overpaid. What's cool is you can scroll down here and rats, how do I get down there? All right, hold on, let me scroll this up.
Oh, this
and
is
you can actually see his valuation on a per week basis. Yeah. So you can see roughly where he ranked. So that green line is the money that he is getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's what that was. I think, is that right? Green line, average per year. Yes, that's his average per year. The red line is cash that is due to the player in the next season. So he's due to make $12 million or $11 million. That's what the red line is. So basically, over the cap actually is saying that John Franklin Myers is overpaid, which is funny because I wouldn't have necessarily thought this before looking at this page.
He just looks unimpactful on the field. He just doesn't look impactful at all, ever.
I beg to differ on that. I respectfully disagree. I think he's one of the guys that's kind of the glue to this defense. You know, he might not be the flashiest or might not, be in, he's probably never going to be, up in the top 5 in the league in sacks and so on and so forth. But what he does, like the little things that he does, the way he can set the edge and hold the run, when
not
he's
to mention
on the
he's
outside.
Flexible. You might be losing Sheldon Rankins if you can kick JFM inside. I like him. Carson, you're out of here.
You're out of here.
Carson, I do want to answer your question about Brian Branch though, because I think it's a fair one and it's a name that a lot of people know. I personally am absolutely in love with the prospect. He's in my top 5 overall prospects. He's a very versatile player. Could he play free safety? He absolutely could. Do I think he's going to be a free safety at the next level? I don't. I think he does such good work in and around the line of scrimmage, that he'll probably either gravitate towards what we know as that I hate to label it strong, but a box safety, or even more so as a slot nickel back who does a lot of work rushing and blitzing, so on and so forth. But the kid is just a football player. He's outstanding. I would love the Jets. He's worth the 13 pick, but I don't think the Jets are going to take him at 13 as much as I would love to have him.
I love it. Welcome, Chris. Welcome to the cockpit.
Hey, how you doing, guys? So I am not a Jets fan. I am a Giants fan, but my father was a diehard Jets fan. And I keep seeing the same thing from the Jets constantly, always defense, and they have a top 5 defense in the league. But when are they going to go out and get the explosive offense that they need to have that defense with? Like, I think Garrett Wilson's going to be a beast. I mean, Breece Hall, we don't really know going to be since he got hurt, but it seems to always be defense first, and it doesn't really work because it's an offensive league. They're going to need to go out and get some savages on offense to match with that defense. I mean, no doubt the defense is great, but the offense is going to keep sputtering until they go out and get the pieces they need. And it's always the same story with the Jets. First round, defensive lineman, nose tackle, this, that, the other, cornerback. But then what are they going to do on offense? I mean, because they're not really setting their quarterback. I'm not saying that Zach Wilson is going to be anything special, but they're not really setting up for success with – I mean, like I said, Garrett Wilson's going to be great, but I'm most likely going to be great. But what are they really doing aside from the one receiver? I mean, what is he supposed to do with just one person?
So I completely understand where you're coming from. And I don't know how many Jet games you do watch, but there's a lot of hope for the Jets right now on the offensive side of the ball. And a lot of the issues we believe are stemming from quarterback. So Dom talking about Brian Branch and the safety in round 1 is more so being talked about because the top 3 offensive tackles may wind up going before the Jets pick at 13. And that's really where you're going to go. The Jets are not going to draft a quarterback early this year because Saleh and Douglas are on the hot seat. So we're assuming we're going after the quarterback in free agency, whether that be Derek Carr, whether that be Lamar Jackson, whether that be Aaron Rodgers, via trade, for those last two.
Right.
The Jets, you would assume, since we have not had a quarterback throw over 10 touchdowns since 4 years ago, just adding Aaron Rodgers in a bad year with a broken thumb would almost set our passing records for a franchise. We really think a lot of that, especially if you score points, your pass rush can now pass rush the other team. If we're not scoring points, the other team's running on us. We can't even use our pass rushers, and we can't use the guys that we have in our secondary that can ball hawk. We saw that at the beginning of last year, and once the offense kind of trickled off without Breece Hall, that's when you started seeing our defense start to cripple. And I think it's based on offensive firepower, like you're kind of alluding to, Chris.
But don't you need that body? Don't you need to go out and get the kid from Tennessee, or go out and try to get that kid? Get the kid from Ohio State, whatever your draft position is, don't you have to get one of those guys to give you a valuable number 2? Because I don't think Elijah Moore is. I mean, he'll be a slot receiver, but you need a body, you need a tall.
Well, so let's break it down like this, right? Like if you're calling the play and you have to decide what you're going to do as far as where it's going to go, I would say Garrett Wilson's 1. I do think Elijah Moore is a 2, but let's say he's not. Let's say it's Garrett Wilson 1.
Corey Davis?
I would say both tight ends are probably above him. I do think Corey Davis is going to end up getting cut. So, I mean, Corey Davis right now would be above Elijah Moore. Breece Hall's above him at that point. I think you could make a Carter or Bam Knight argument as well, based on how many balls we actually saw thrown towards Elijah Moore this year. But I do think Elijah Moore with a better quarterback will have increased stats. They'll see the ball a little bit more, and you won't have those off-target passes, and we'll just have more first downs to be able to see more reps from some of these other guys. When you have 39th ranked quarterback play out of 39 quarterbacks, that's insane. That's like really bad.
Of course. I think the body means more. I think the body means more to the position than the actual name. But I don't think that you have to do if you're putting the tight ends and the running backs above your number 2 technical wide receiver. I think you need a body that's go out there and jump and high point a ball. And that I don't think.
Well, I wouldn't put Moore that far down. I'm putting him that far down just because I'm saying we have some other weapons outside of like just those. So if you have to worry about number 2 receiver, that's kind of okay in my book. I do think that the Jets will try to add someone else. Denzel Mims is interesting too. And switching the offensive coordinator, I do want to make a note of this because last year I spoke about hidden talent in terms of defense, getting Carl Lawson back, getting Vinny Curry back, getting LaMarcus Joyner back, like getting all these guys healthy and in the system. With the offense, you can almost look at the same thing. Guys that were underperforming or not performing or were hurt in the previous system. Mekhi Becton. Maybe Elijah Moore develops a little bit more. Maybe Zach Wilson develops a little bit more. Maybe Laken Tomlinson has himself a better season under a new offensive coordinator. Like there's hidden talent. Denzel Mims is the one that I'm kind of hoping for because that's 6'3", 4.3 speed. I'm hoping he can blow the top off of a defense. And then that kind of unlocks another level of potential firepower that this offense could have that we just haven't been able to really concretely see. And we would probably side those picks more on the bust side than hitting on them at this particular point in time.
Well, when that's real last number 1, like you had a solidified number 1. That was my go-to guy. Like not Holmes, right? I mean, it's got to be somebody.
It's probably Marshall and Decker. Those are probably the last 2 we really had. 2015, if I had to guess. Chris, I love you. Thank you so much for the call. I appreciate the support, but I'm getting to the next call. You've been ejected from the cockpit. We got V-Man hopping back in. V-Man, how you doing, brother?
Yeah, fine.
Wait, hold on. Before I get to that, I saw another. Where did it go? I saw another member chat in there. Let me see if I can find it. Mr. Uglis says, if they whiff on Carr or Rodgers and we somehow get saddled with Tannehill or Garoppolo, garbage
Garoppolo.
Wouldn't it just be better to draft a quarterback and cross our fingers? No. They're not going to do that.
They're not going to do that. I understand the logic, Chode. But they're not going to do that. They're not going to.
No, I think if you miss on Carr and you miss on Rodgers, like Carson, I think it was Carson that said it before. I think they're going to go all in on Lamar. I think if they whiff on both guys, Douglas is not going to last after this year. And I think they will go in on Lamar if all those are missed. I don't know if – I really hope Tannehill isn't an option for us. I would much rather give up all the picks for Lamar than run it back with Tannehill and watch everyone get canned.
Yeah,
what about you, Dom?
I would love Lamar. I really would. He'd probably be my first choice if I thought it was feasible. I just don't. Baltimore owns him for 2 years. That's just reality. They have him for 2 years, and you can say, fine, he's not going to play. He's going to sit, so on and so forth. I don't think they're just going to give him away. And then again, you come into the aspect. You're probably, if they do trade him, they're going to look to get him out of the conference, so on and so forth. I just don't think it's a feasible answer.
Yeah, I think Lamar, if I had to guess, he's going to Atlanta. If there's a trade, I don't think there's any way we get him. I think out of conference with Atlanta, and Atlanta tried to give up all the picks for Deshaun Watson. The only reason they didn't get him is because they wouldn't guarantee the scumbag the fully guaranteed contract if he was convicted. The Browns did. Yep. So, that's my thoughts on that. All right, let's get back to V-Man. How you doing, Vinny? You're going to be our last caller for tonight.
Sorry about that. Added dead zone. Nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, all good.
That's all I was trying to say. Because you look at the options like right now the top 3 teams for Rodgers are the Raiders, Jets, the Titans. In no particular order, honestly. But the thing is, what I see is that is if it's really those teams, the Jets offer the path, and really it's just the Jets and the Raiders. Because let's be real, the Titans are on the decline. They're not.
Yeah, but it's not. But we can't even be real about that because it's the Raiders and Titans can both offer better packages than the Jets can. And it's ultimately up to the Packers. It's not even on Rodgers because he doesn't have a no trade.
Well, technically, he could just threaten retirement.
He could threaten retirement, but like I've been saying, he made $300 million in his career. I don't see him leaving 110 in 2 years on the table. I think that's the leverage you have as a team getting Rodgers to come back.
I think, but they're going to respect his opinion. They're going to
they're not going to trade him to nowhere. But I think the Jets are a team he would be okay going with. And if the Jets said, "Hey, look, we have so much faith in you, Aaron. We traded for you before we knew if you were going to retire." I don't think that's a smart move. And I would put in conditions to make sure you're protected if he does retire. But I would say attempting to make the move and knowing you have that leverage of $110 million is not as crazy as it may sound either.
So can we finish? All right, so like I said, the Jets offer the path of least resistance. Let's be real here. The Raiders have a terrible defense. They have a bad coach. They're in a much tougher division. Let's be real. The Chiefs are the class of the conference. The Chargers are always going to be competitive with Herbert, and Sean Payton should be able to revive the Broncos. Well, you look at the AFC East. Yes, the Bills have been the Bills have been running it since 2020. But they're looking like a team that's probably, like their window's starting to come close. Yeah, the Dolphins, 2 teams stay healthy.
Yeah, I would say the Jets are the team and the East, like you're saying, to come to for sure. I think the Bills' window, I don't want to say it's shut because I really like Josh Allen. I think he's phenomenal, but this was kind of their year. They needed to do that before Allen's money hit.
No, absolutely, and like I said, then finish it off. You got New England, who's just a mess. Let's be real. Let's call it what it is. They're a mess. And like I said, the Jets have the skill position. Sure, they're not as big name as the Raiders, but the potential is there. And they have the top 5 defense, which he hasn't had since he last won the Super Bowl in 2010. And the coaches that he's gonna want to play for. Let's be real. The Jets offer the path of least resistance, and that's something no other team can offer him.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. The only thing that we brought up earlier, Dom C was saying, you got Devontae Adams, and you got no state income tax, and West Coast. I would say three things that we cannot change about our team.
Yeah, but here's the thing. What did Aaron Rodgers say on the Pat McAfee show? There's no point in coming back if you don't think you can win it all.
Sure. I think you can argue that with Devontae Adams, he thinks he can win it all. I think you're right. I think we are the best option, but I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
And there's also 11 million other reasons per year that he might change his view on if he can win it all in Oakland. Or Las Vegas.
I get your point, but like I said, I think Yeah, but here's the thing.
I think you're about to get
but if you told me,
ejected from the cockpit, Vinny. Vinny, I love you. Thank you so much for the call in. I think the Jets are the best option, hands down, for any quarterback coming to the AFC. Like, I don't know if there's another team in the AFC that I would say provides a better shot for the Jets or for a quarterback coming here. If you want to say a free agent and you can go to the NFC South, makes perfect sense. You want to say go to San Francisco, makes perfect sense. If there's a situation where any of those quarterbacks can have it their way, I do think those are the directions they would go. Miami is going to be in on Tua. I don't think they're going to move on from him. So I think the Jets are by default like the best.
I think they're locked into Tua.
Yeah.
At least that's what they say. So let's see.
I agree. Well, we have reached the end of our show. So, guys, I want to thank you so much for hanging out with us in the chat. Make sure you hit that like button. And, Dom, I want to throw it over to you. Thank you so much for hopping on with me tonight and talking some Senior Bowl.
Honest to God, it was a pleasure and an honor. And it's always good to talk Jets with guys like you and guys in the chat that we had here and on the calls. Everyone always makes so much sense. And whether I agree with you or not, we all want one thing, and that's the beautiful thing about this fan base is that we all just want to win, man. We all just want to win. So let's rock, man.
I love it. Boys and girls, you're going to see a lot of Dom C over the course of the next few months while we got our lead up to draft time. We'll have a whole bunch more conversations and everything. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. My name's Ryan. This is Jets Talk. Signing off. JETS.
I think every single person in this locker room is a competitor at the highest level. So, yeah, when you feel as if your backs are against the wall, you never have to feel like you got to do it by yourself.
Unbelievable throw. Under pressure. Sacked by Quinnen Williams. Right sideline, Usama's got it.
You look to your left and your right, you got guys out there with you that our whole point is to help each other.
This one to Mims. That's Corey Davis climbing the ladder.
To be able to go out and lead these guys, just to know how hard these guys work and how important it is to them, and then you get that chance to lead them. Everything that happened that needed to happen for us, it almost felt like kind of like a sign, like get like a second chance almost.
Gets extra pushes, running left.
Maybe a little extra life breathing in the locker room.
Touchdown Jets.